So you guys seem to absolutely love these way too early 2024 AFL trade videos, and I'm not going to lie, I actually quite enjoy making them because it's awesome to give you guys the news and give you guys like my theories, opinions, and speculation about what's happening. Like, I just can't imagine being you guys. What a thrill it must be to watch a chubby 5'8" fat kid talk about AFL videos online. I mean, hey, you could be doing a lot worse things like watching a Riley Reid video on your spare time. Come to think of it, that's probably actually more entertaining than me. But you know what? You guys are here, so while you are, I might as well get straight into it and talk about, obviously, we'll start off with the big team. The team that's been in absolutely everything recently with... I've legitimately seen more reports about this team than I've seen of my dad in my whole entire lifetime. And that's literally pretty crazy to think, but it's actually true. And that happens to be the Richmond Football Club. One report which came out the other day, actually by Xander Maguire, which is really funny because I swear Eddie despawned from TV for a bit there, and then all of a sudden a fucking duplicate, a younger duplicate of him spawns in out of nowhere, and he actually reports that Shay Bolton is getting a ton of interest from the Fremantle Dockers. Again, they're doing a big bid to land the contracted Tiger, who is supposed to remain at Punt Road till 2027. Richmond, of course, actually came out and denied this, shutting down all rumours. It says Richmond has decisively squashed any rumours suggesting that star player Shay Bolton may be traded back to his home state of Western Australia, despite reported interest from the Fremantle Dockers.
To a developing story tonight, where I can tell you that Fremantle is planning a stunning trade raid on Richmond. Despite being contracted until the end of 2028, the Dockers have launched a bid to recruit Shay Bolton.
Now, I'm going to be honest here, right? Every single Richmond fan on all of these Richmond fan accounts, Serious Super Tiger supporter group, whatever the fuck they call them, right, has pretty much been like, oh, well, Richmond shut it down. It's not going to be happening. There's no way that Shay Bolton is anywhere else besides Richmond next year. And although as a massive Richmond fan myself, I kind of want to believe that, there's still a big part of me who low-key thinks that this could go the other way. And I'm not going to lie, I'm not pulling this out of my asshole out of nowhere. This is a true story. On God, you can ask my mate Kane, who I actually texted this to. But at the start of the year, I said, if things go sour, don't be surprised if a guy like Shay Bolton was to leave. And he was basically like, well, why would Shay Bolton leave? And of course, there's a ton of reasons. First of all, I believe a couple of years ago on a radio station, Shay Bolton actually said one of the big reasons he re-signed with the Tigers was because it makes his partner happy. Again, I don't know if you guys are the same as me. Look, I personally don't have a girlfriend myself, but your partner being happy isn't usually the main reason why most people, I think, are going to re-sign and stay away from their home state for an extremely long time. There's going to be a ton of other things, right? Then, obviously, at the best and fairest night for Richmond in 2023, he actually said he had talks with Blair Hartley midway through the year about potentially leaving, but Blair convinced him to stay. Funny thing is, if I remember right, Blair Hartley is, I believe, packing his bags and going to Tasmania with Brendan Gale. So the man who convinced Shay Bolton to stay is also leaving. And the other big reason, arguably the main reason, of course, is that a ton of the players who signed an AFL contract in 2022, like Shay Bolton and Daniel Rioli did, are currently feeling extremely hard done by. Mainly because of the new CBA that was, of course, introduced last season. A part of this new CBA, a ton of different things were added to contracts, like if you're a rookie, you're now on a 3-year deal. I believe if you're a first-round pick, instead of 2 years. The pay went from an average of $370 to $520 or something. All of these players were getting pay increases. The contracts doubled. I think the salary cap went up. All of this type of stuff, right? Essentially, all those players who re-signed in 2022, a lot of them are feeling hard done by, mainly because they're like, well, I just signed this contract before all of these new rules and stuff have come in that could have made me a ton more money. I'm pissed. Shay Bolton, who probably re-signed for 800 to 850k a year, is probably seeing a team like the Fremantle Dockers, who have a ton of salary cap right there, who legitimately, obviously, their salary cap is now greatly increased because of CBA. He's looking at it and he's like, hold on, I just re-signed for 850k a year. Liam Baker is getting offers from West Coast at about 1.1 to 1.2 million a year. Hugh McCluggage just signed for 1.1 million a year. Hold on, I'm an All-Australian. I think I'm better than those guys. I deserve more money. Shay Bolton is probably somewhere saying that right now. And he's thinking, I'm better than those guys who are getting 1.1 to 1.2 million a year, like McCluggage did, like obviously Liam Baker did. He's probably thinking Freo are sitting right there who could offer him an easy 1.2 million a year. An extra 300k, 250k, probably more than he's making now, and he gets to return to his home state. This is what I'm saying. Even though I don't think he'll leave, and I think that Richmond will pay him more of a part of the CBA and everything that's happened, I still think there is a massive chance that this doesn't swing the way the Tigers want. Plus, the Fremantle Dockers have 3 first-round picks. They also have, I think, 2 second-round picks, and then they've got their first-round pick next year. So they've got 4 guaranteed firsts and a second-round pick, and maybe another one. I could be wrong. But they've got 5 guaranteed really high picks that Richmond could be very interested in. So again, that's why I think this could make sense. I still think he will stay, but we got to talk about it just because of how likely that everything that I just mentioned could actually legitimately be true, right? Of course, the other Richmond player who I talked about in last video is Jack Graham, who is getting interest from West Coast. That was being reported by Tom Morris. West Coast has shown interest in Jack Graham, who will be unrestricted free agent at season's end. The thing is, I believe Port Adelaide and Adelaide are also looming as potential teams. Adelaide are going to be needing to do a lot of different things in this offseason. I genuinely believe out of the 3 teams that are interested, they might be the ones who come the most hard. God, that sounds fucking wrong. Mainly because when we do decide to go in depth on it, right, Rory Sloane has retired from Adelaide. That's a big midfielder for so long that they've had, who's now just gone out the window, right? You got players like Matt Crouch, who are now out for the whole entire year. Some people were saying Matt Crouch squeezed every little bit of juice he had left in him this season, and now with all these injuries, might not be that good next year. Again, Taylor Walker, I think, could be on the verge of retiring. Brodie Smith is not the man he used to be. A ton of players here and there, right, I think could be out the door or coming to the end of their career. This Adelaide team is going to need to build depth, and they're going to need to do so without giving up a lot of picks and all this type of stuff, right? It's really important for them now that they probably go and hit the draft, especially with how bad their drafting has been in recent years. Riley Thilthorpe doesn't look good. Wayne Miller was okay in his career. Fogarty, again, some people forget he's like 25 now, really hasn't achieved what he probably should have. I think it was Fisher McCasey or whatever was a just clear bust and retired at like 21. A ton of different bad picks after bad picks, right? The reality is, if Adelaide want to improve this team, they can therefore head to the draft again this season, but they can look at unrestricted players like Jack Graham. The other one they're looking at is Elliot Yeo, who, from what I'm seeing, I don't know what's going on there. North Melbourne are interested in him. I will talk about that in another video as well. But they're obviously interested in Elliot Yeo, offering him a 3-year deal. It said that my understanding is the offer could be front-ended of around $1.3 million. Total of the deal could be $2.7 million as well. Now again, Elliot Yeo is another player they could possibly get. The thing with Elliot Yeo is right now is the reality is I think he's also restricted, but if they would offer him a ton of money and somehow draw him over, I actually don't know if the West Coast Eagles would match that, because I genuinely think that they would probably be happier by just getting the pick back in return. For example, if they get pick 9 back for Elliot Yeo as a compensation, right, they can legitimately just use that and get Liam Baker in. They could probably trade Liam pick 9 for Liam Baker and a future third, right? The Eagles, that would make a ton of sense for them as well. You're literally replacing Elliot Yeo, a 31-year-old man who's always injured, with a 25, 26-year-old guy heading into his prime who could be a future vice captain for you along the way as well. Great trade for them, and it makes a ton of sense, and it really works with how they're going. Again, Adelaide, Elliot Yeo, I think paying him a lot of money is not the smartest idea, but bringing him and Jack Graham in, and you bring them in for free, it helps their cause. It fills in much needed depth that they really need. This team needs a ton of depth. And the reality is their midfield, which is not overly looking too great this year. You can go from, obviously having Dawson and Laird in it, and then obviously rotating Rankin, Rochelle, and all those type of players, right? You can go from that to adding a midfielder at pick 4, which I believe they have, adding potentially Elliot Yeo, and then adding Jack Graham, right? You automatically add 3 midfielders into that fold. Again, there's going to be a ton of other spots that need work, but it makes sense. And some people might be like, well, there's not much speed in there with Yeo, Graham, Dawson, and Laird. But in saying that as well, you've got Rochelle there, you've got Rankin there who adds speed. Whoever they draft a pick 4, pick 5, I imagine is not going to be slow. A ton of other things here and there, right? So there's a lot of moves for Adelaide to, of course, make this, I think, free agency and trade period as well. So it's going to be interesting. Where do we see Elliot Yeo landing? I still, for some reason, think he could re-sign with the Eagles. But as I just said, realistically, it probably makes more sense if he moves. Again, they can literally just swap Yeo for Baker. Baker's not necessarily better than Yeo, but he definitely fits their team a lot more, adding some speed into that midfield with Reid and Jinby and Cully. And then obviously, you can get a 3rd-round pick in return as well, probably from Richmond. And all you're losing is really Elliot Yeo, and you're getting a dude who's 5-6 years younger, future leader for your club, who's going to average you 20 disposals plus per game and be a better fit with Elliot Yeo, be a better fit with Harley Reid. So yeah, Graham as well. I don't know. I think he's going to leave Richmond. I think Adelaide should be the team that probably go for him the hardest, and Richmond should probably let him walk. You probably get like pick 30 to 35 back in compensation. Works well, but again, I wouldn't be surprised if he re-signed too. Bolton, probably like 80% not going anywhere, but I still think there's a little bit of hope for Dockers fans out there who definitely need to add some scoring to their forward line, and he would be absolutely exceptional. But of course, if you haven't already, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. Comment your thoughts and opinions on this all down below. Do you guys agree with everything I've said, or do you guys not? I'd very much like to know. Subscribe to my sports channel and my IRL/long channels. Links for them will be in the description down below. And I guess I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.